Today we are going to talk about overbets and no limit hold'em. They are a powerful tool that you can use to punish your opponents, both to get value and as a bluff. How and when to use them is an important skill to master if you want to be a great poker player. I'm Ian Simpson, and this video will help you apply overbetting at the tables. The scenario. In the following scenario, the button opens and the big blind calls. The flop is king of clubs, 5 of hearts, 4 of hearts. The big blind checks, the button bets, and the big blind calls. The turn is the jack of spades, and it's a blank card for our opponent because it doesn't really help the big blind's range all that much. The big blind therefore checks, and the button has a decision point. This exact scenario is one where the GTO line involves betting the turn with a sizing that is bigger than the pot. So let's take a look at the ranges here. Breaking down our range. This is where we need to break our range down into 3 categories. We have very strong hands like aces, ace-king, king-jack, pocket 5s. We have mid-strength hands with showdown value like pocket 7s, ace-5, 10-jack suited. Our mid-strength hands are happy to control the size of the pot. We don't want to bet again because a hand like pocket 7s is going to struggle to get a better hand to call because hands like 5-6 are often folding. Our opponent will rarely fold a better hand than pocket 7s here, so if betting doesn't get a worse hand to call or a better hand to fold, we don't bet. Now, here's where overbetting comes in. Our very strong hands want to go big for value. We know something about our opponent's range given the previous streets of action. When they call a flop bet, we narrow their range down to flush draws, straight draws, some ace-high hands, and pairs. They sometimes have 2 pair in sets, but they'll often check raise those on the flop. Against this range, our very strong hands can bet big for value. Pocket aces, pocket 5s, king 5 suited and the like are doing very well against this range, and they want to shovel money in. They'll have to continue with their draws and their top pairs because remember, we're going to be doing this with bluffs here too, and they'll even continue with some weaker holdings as well. Using an overbet with these hands maximizes the value we can get out of them. Now that leaves our last category of hands that are worse than 1 pair. Some of these we're going to use to bluff. A hand like 10-7 of diamonds can overbet bluff here. Our opponent will be forced to fold ace-high hands and many of their weak 4x and 5x hands. We can also use flush draws like ace-6 of hearts and straight draws like queen-10 offsuit. Using an overbet with these hands maximizes our fold equity versus their mid-strength hands. Don't overdo it. The trick is to not overdo it here, because if we bluffed all of our flush draws and all of our straight draws and all of our junk hands, there will be 2 consequences. First of all, our betting range would be too weak, letting our opponent's bluff catchers be very profitable. Secondly, our checking back range wouldn't have any flush draws or straight draws in it, so we couldn't have the nuts on a heart or a straightening river. Now when we bet, exactly what size should we use? Geometric sizing explained. You might have seen the phrase 2E or 3E in poker parlance before. The E stands for equal, and the number is how many bets are going to be made in order to be all in. In the example I just talked about, we're going to use 2E, or 2 equal bets, 1 on the turn and 1 on the river, so that we are all in with the last bet. In this exact example, the pot was 930 by the time we got to the turn. The exact maths to calculate 2E can be a little bit tricky to do on the fly, so don't worry too much about having used the exact right size. In game, I bet 1200, making the pot 3,330 and leaving me an overbet of 3,800 behind. If you can do the maths perfectly on the fly, then good for you, but estimating it is just fine. The River Overbet Jam. Our opponent called our turn overbet, and the river card is the jack of hearts. Our opponent checks, and we have another overbet opportunity left to us here, both for value and as a bluff. Our full houses, our flushes, and pocket aces make for great value bets, and having used 2E from the turn onwards allows us to get all the money in versus their weaker hands in 2 equal bets. Our bluffs are mainly going to come from hands like queen-10 offsuit and queen-9 offsuit with a heart. If we bluffed all of our hands that didn't improve and didn't have a heart blocker, we would end up bluffing too much again, making our opponent's bluff catchers very profitable. As you can see, overbetting is a very powerful tool. When used correctly, it can both help you get max value with your best hands and get maximum fold equity with your bluffs. What part of overbetting do you struggle with? Let us know in the comments below. 888 Poker, made to play.